I feel like it's a rapper sin for me to say what I'm about to say.
Oh shit! Let's get into it.
I am intimidated. Because the boy, I shouldn't say the boy. That's crazy. The man can rap. Right?
Hey,
the man can rap. Jthurston in the building. Nobody's listening.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
I have one question for you.
Oh, here we go.
Why are you Jthurston?
The shallow answer, I couldn't think of any cool names.
So that's your name.
I just it's my government, Jthurston. I just jammed it together. I played with all kinds of ideas, added an exclamation point on the end, and all that. So my lack of creativity, ironically.
I was gonna say ironically because you are lyrical. I'm trying not to cuss for YouTube's sake. But you're lyrical.
I thank you. That's where I always hope to exist for people, is like having the words to tell the stories. And the real reason as to why I am Jthurston, why I am an artist, is for that reason. I know that I have an ability to articulate, some things that maybe people don't know the words for, but when you say the things the right way, you feel it. You can identify with it, So I've gone through this. I don't know how to say what I've gone through, but then that artist, they told the story and I'm like, that's the thing that I felt that, or they sing the note and I'm like, fuck, that's the feeling that I felt that, so that's who I always aim to be. So yeah, that's long story short.
So essentially what I'm hearing is that music has given you the voice when, so you'll be out in the regular world, if you will, and you'll talk to people. You might find yourself like, man, what is that word I'm looking for? Or what is that feeling I'm trying to express? But then you hear a beat, you hear a track, and you just start saying everything that you were looking for.
Exactly.
I respect that.
Exactly.
I respect
cool.
that.
Well, sweet. I do want to ask you right away, just to get into things. Obviously, super talented individual.
Thank you.
Where did music come from in your life? Was it something you grew up on, family, generations back, or what really brought you to music?
Ironically, so my mom is a poet.
Oh,
not
cool.
a published poet, but it's just something that she's always done. And she was always very open and transparent with me. I'm the youngest of, my siblings. So I was open and transparent with me. She would always, share some of it. And so I got really comfortable with the idea of expression and spoken word and that at an early age. And then my stepdad is a musician.
Awesome.
So that aspect I grew up around. Rehearsals and shows, I saw him headline shows and said he's a blues singer.
That's cool.
And so these are things that were I didn't think that was odd or that just seemed I thought it was an everyday thing, and it's like, no, it's not. And so that kind of really normalized music. It didn't just make me do it immediately. I had the chills and the fear of that expression and everything like everyone else would, but it definitely got me comfortable with what that industry looks like or what that practice looks like.
Cool. Awesome. And then also, obviously, I'm assuming you've been doing it for a while. What was like the age or like the turning point where you were like, I could really do something with this? Like, let me take it more serious.
25.
Okay.
Late.
Yeah.
And I initially I was like skeptical about that because it's like we're pushed into this thought process that music is only a young man's game. Like you have to be doing it. You see people doing it since they were 10, since they were 15. It's like ultimately it happens when it happens for you, it happens for you. And around 25 is when it really happened for me, when I was like, you know what? I can YouTube that Drake instrumental. Let me make a SoundCloud and let me just try,
Yeah.
And so, it came about at a later point for me. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so then walk me through from 0 to 24. What was Jared's thought?
Man,
What was it you wanted to do in life, or did you even have a plan?
I didn't, and I think that's so common.
That is common.
I think.
Can you speak to that, please? Because I'm sorry to cut you off, but like I know for a fact that there are a lot of people listening, probably even who listen to your music, who they feel like, man, like I'm 26, 27, 28, and I don't know what to do with my life, and they feel like they're losers because of that.
Because they don't have the plan, because they haven't figured it out, or they're not taking steps forward. It's the funny thing about steps forward is that, you know, our lives, our brain sees things as so linear. I'm at this point and I want to get over there. And so I need to be taking steps toward there. And when I'm not, I feel like I'm failing. But ultimately, every step that you take, if your path is determined outside of you, every step that you take, whether it be backwards, downwards, upwards, it's still going towards your forward. That's your forward, you know? And keeping that mindset.
That's crazy, by the way. He rapped right in front of me.
That was like the most perfectly well said, like life equation. I was literally like contemplating that, like out of body experience. Like, wow, like, man,
bro, he literally just rapped right in front of me. You were saying.
I feel like so long as people keep that mindset, it, you know, allows you to, you know, throughout the ups and downs and everything, to understand that you're not failing. You know, I think that you fail. I don't even want to say you fail when you give up. I sometimes the quitting part is even a piece of a person's, because sometimes you quit and you get back to it. You quit and you see that there's no life in where you quit to, and you get back to it. So it's just like, you know, keep on keeping on. Yeah, ultimately, just there's no science to this. There's no right way to do this.
There really isn't. That's an absolute fact. I mean, we've been in this for so long at this point, and we're like, oh, we gotta get viral this way, or oh, we don't have to go viral. We gotta be real. We gotta establish a brand. But you know what I learned from people who have 10,000 to 100,000 followers? They're like, yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, all of them.
What do you mean you're trying to figure it out? I'm trying to get where you are.
Right, the people at the top. I think that's one of the most enlightening things, where you can meet people or just hear from people who have done things that you yourself see as grandiose accomplishments. And they tell you that they're these human people and they don't know exactly what the next step is, or they're still trying to, you know, it's like, oh, okay, so maybe I should be a little less hard on myself.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should give myself a lot more credit for the things that I've done. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe because I didn't get 1 million views, I shouldn't be looking at the thing that I did as a failure or as inadequate. You know, like there's different tiers to this, and you never know what's going to do it for you.
I totally agree with that. What do you think, Zay?
Well, I'm just still trying to process everything. Like this has been such a just, yeah.
Hey, you guys make it it's a good setting, man. It's a good, I feel comfortable.
Yeah. But 100%, I'm just like, exactly what you said. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's plan is different. Sometimes you got to take that step back to figure out how to move forward. And I think that was kind of like the biggest thing for me as an artist as well, because like August said, like we've been doing this a little bit too. But like I found once I start treating music like it was a job and bring it more into being a passion again and just connecting with other people, it's like that's when I had the most fun. That's when it came back to it. Because it was like, if I'm in my room 8 hours a day trying to find beats and write to it and stuff like that, it's
like the perfect song.
It brings out the passion.
Yeah.
And it's like, or it takes away the passion.
It takes it away. Yeah.
It makes it more just like stressful.
Yeah.
Whereas music, like you said, and like I've noticed in your music, it's supposed to be like capturing real life, just feelings and emotions and events from people. And so just like you going on about the taking the step back, up, down, all that, I was like, wow, like I could not have put it into better words, like how to progress, not even just through music, but life. Just take it as it goes and don't see things as failures.
Hey, I sometimes I dabble in philosophy a little bit.
I could see it.
You not only do you dabble in philosophy, I'm gonna make a bold claim here. Okay, August is making the bold claim, not him, unless you want to take it. Pause, by the way. Okay. I know that was crazy. No, that was crazy. That's my bad. That's my bad. That's on me. That's on me. Yo, hey, yo. All right.
That's gonna make the B-roll.
Yeah. That's a blooper. That was a blooper. That's a clip, right?
You never know how you go viral. Hey.
That was a clip.
That was crazy. I really wanted to say something there too. All right, reset. All right. Speaking of philosophy, I'm making a bold claim, okay? You are, I think, based on the songs that I've heard, you are Bay Area Kendrick Lamar.
That's huge.
When I think of, I'll tell you why, okay? When I think of Kendrick Lamar, I hear angst. I hear a guy who's not afraid to talk about his imperfections. And I feel like people in the midst of the battle with Drake forget that in his music, that he's literally saying, hey, I'm not perfect. And he literally said in his last album, I'm not your savior. Yeah. I listened to your song eventually, the song that you're performing on this platform, and you say, hey, like, give me some time, I'll show you my ugly side.
Yeah.
Right? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But to me, one, your voice reminds me a little bit of him, but that's not necessarily it. It's your angst, like you're looking for something within yourself, but your knowledge as well. It's like, yo, I'm not perfect, but I'm sharing my story with you guys so that maybe you can learn from me. What do you think about that?
That is, that's a huge compliment, first and foremost. That's one of my favorite artists. I'm actually trying to decide if he's my GOAT lately. But, I think that I can definitely see where you would say that, because, I reach for that same vulnerability, that same, the same metric, that same, where it's like, I am willing to show you every piece of me. That's what I feel like real art is. And every piece of me is sometimes going to be these triumphant things, it's going to be the anxiety. It's going to be me being insecure and unsure of things, or heartbroken, or maybe I'm the villain in the story, or maybe I'm the hero. But all these things and that's just a human experience. I feel like that's how I want to look at making art, as just saying, taking my ego out of it and saying, let's just share the human experience that I live. And I know I filter it different. I'm a unique filter, so I'm going to speak on it different. I'm going to articulate it different, but I know I'm connected to everyone because we're all living the human experience. Thanks. So because it's authentic, something I say is going to resonate with you. 100%. And maybe not everything, but something I say is going to resonate with you, and that's the way I look at making art. So the Kendrick comparison, that's, hey.
I had to do it. Not for the algorithm, I swear. I listened to your song when it came out, and then again when I knew that you were performing it, I want to listen closely to what he's saying. Yeah. And there's a lot of like implications that you're not only are you not perfect, but I'll get better eventually is literally the chorus.
Yeah.
Like essentially you're not even committing to the fact that you're going to get better. Yeah. It's just like whenever it happens, it happens. So it's reminiscent of his music too.
Yeah. We've all been that bad guy before. Yeah.
Hey, I hear you. I do. Go ahead.
I'm afraid of anyone who's never been the bad guy, who can tell you that they're not, that lack of self-awareness, who can never say that they've ever been in the wrong. That scares me.
I've been there. No, I'm serious. Like I have been egotistical, where it's like, you try to find a way to save your own ego sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily you're trying to be the villain or like trying to paint someone else away. You're just trying to save yourself from humiliation often, Not that makes it right, but I hear you. I have to ask you though. You landed, I heard a little bit of your album, right? I don't know if I should say that,
No, yeah, please.
Drop
please.
the leaks.
Drop the
leak. You know where it comes from.
You naturally arrive at what I personally think hip hop is. And when I say what I think hip hop is, to summarize, I think it's, you got to say something. It's very cool to make, the songs that, are club bangers or whatever, or that are fun. Not to say that it's not hip hop, it is part of it, but you almost naturally arrived to having a message in your music. So you coming into the game at 25 and making music at 25, was that intentional? Did you intentionally think, well, I'm going to rap about X, Y, Z, have a message? Or did you not have expectations? What was that for you?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
Let me tell you. I think I went through the very traditional order of things, and artists can relate to this. I initially was very shy about my spoken word, so I was like, I want to make beats. Okay. And then I'm making beats and I'm not great at it, so no one wants to rap over them. So then I find myself being the only person who wants to rap over it. Yeah. So then me rapping, I don't know how to latch on to this. So my very first thing is to emulate rappers that I listen to that I like. So if you hear early on me, it's a lot of braggadocio, a lot of, it's because I listen to a lot of Drake. I listen to, like a lot. So it's like a lot of that kind of like, slightly vulnerable, but really, like braggadocious kind of thing. And, I found that after a point of making music, I was constantly chasing what would get a reaction. I was constantly thinking, oh, if I make this I got to make a banger, or I got to make a this song. What's hot out right now? I got to do something along those lines. Try to stand out to be a little different, but still catch that wave or catch that. And it took a while for me to understand that. I like to liken it to, I don't know what Rocky, where he said this, where it's like, you got to live for yourself because you got to live with yourself. And I liken it to that because ultimately...
Is that Rocky or is that you?
He's being humble. He tried to give it to somebody else.
I got it.
Some great Sun Tzu.
It was great.
I don't know, bro. Because I was crazy. You're going to show my age right now? Man. I was like, bro, that was deep.
Hey, man, Rocky was deep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Pause again. Okay, my bad. Hey, I can't stop. I can't die alone on that hill. I can't.
Oh my God.
Okay, I totally threw off the My bad.
No, but yeah, just to wrap that up, that was, coming into that realization that whether it was received well or not, if I did what was authentic to myself, I would be able to sleep at the end of the night. I'd be able to live with her, because I made some music that was like, and I think that artists should hear that. People that are thinking about picking up a pen and, like, understand that if you think that maybe I'm good, maybe you think that I'm good now, maybe. But, I made songs that were like, I remember shooting this chorus to a friend that had already been doing music. I shot him a chorus, like, I just need you on the chorus. And he was like, nah, I got to rewrite this. He's like, there's certain things that I just won't say, like I was really just trying to make a club hit or something. It was just so out of character and so unauthentic. And so we deal with that insecurity of my natural self isn't good enough. But you know what? If people aren't messing with it, that's fine. And most of the time people aren't initially going to take to it. But, like if you're doing what you are authentically are, then you'll find your people.
Right.
You will eventually. Just keep being you,
100%.
He said eventually. He did it.
Speaking of it, let's dive into it. Eventually your song, it's out now.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of walk us through the thought behind it, how it came to be, was there an event or something that had happened that brought you to that, or is it just?
So eventually, initially there was the first verse was initially for another track that I had did prior, and it was more of a I don't want to say, it was like close to EDM kind of song. Okay. But then when me and Jordan, shout out Jordan Kyle.
Shout out Jordan Kyle.
When we linked up, you know, we had worked on, Jordan caught me at the end of I was going through some shit in my life.
Sounds like good music.
Yeah, no, that's what, you're right. And, you know, we just started cooking up with each other and with that one, he just started cooking that beat up. And I was like, oh no, this verse that I had did on this previous track, this goes I was like, so I rewrote it, changed the cadence, added another verse. And, really it was just I was at a point where I just wanted to not be the victim in a song. I told him I want to make an album about all things, including love. But I don't necessarily just want it to be like love, like I want to love on you, or love like, oh, you broke my heart. That happens, and that we touch on that. But
you want your own version of love.
Yeah, it's like, because in love, there's been points in love where I can look back in hindsight and say, "Ooh, I wasn't shit," you know, I was wilding, right? And so, like, I wanted to include that kind of story, and we just kept playing with it. And again, credit to Jordan. It's like, you know, like when you're working with someone who's really, when you're dealing with someone who's invested as an engineer, I always remember LL Cool J talking about a album he had did with Timbaland years ago when he was talking about the difference between dealing with the beat maker versus an actual producer. Whereas, you know, a beat maker is just shoveling you beats and you kind of just rap over them and whatever goes. But, you know, an actual engineer, actual producers, like wait, redo this, maybe go up or down on that, you know, like really putting an ear to it. They're invested, and, you know, then you're bouncing ideas off. Then you're truly creating with all the walls down. Like I'm not just gonna, you know, create just a little bit. I'm not just gonna create the sound that you're gonna rap over. I'm gonna help you create how this is, you know, structured. And so we dealt with a lot of that. You know, and I loved what came out of it. It's one of those that after, you know, as an artist, after you make something you like, you're just playing it nonstop. I'm like, oh, that's gonna kill him.
They're gonna have to.
They're gonna have to.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of your album, though, before we get into the performance, talk to us a little bit about the album, like whatever you could share, concept, release date. I want to hear whatever you could share with us.
So the album is going to be called Aperture.
Aperture.
And Aperture is, you know, the field of where light passes through a camera lens, right? The idea is, you know, the bigger the aperture, the bigger the picture, and that's the whole idea about the album is like this big picture view on all these things that, you know, don't necessarily get touched on. You know, it's kind of like, you know, life at the surface level. We live in a fake time.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Because everything's so visual. So we live in a time where everything is just, it's performance. It's all performance. And there's so much that is underneath that. There's so much behind that. There's so much that's not getting talked about, especially in art. And especially, I feel like, unfortunately, in rap that's highlighted, it's like, you know, with rap that's normally highlighted, it feels like it's straying away from the real stories. Yep. And so that's the whole thing. Whatever the story is, it's going to be real things, you know. It touches on different subjects. It's not just unilateral in what it's dealing with, but everything it's dealing with is from a vulnerable, a realistic standpoint, and that's the whole idea behind it.
I love that, and the reason I love that, I want to get back to this, but this show was founded exactly on what you just said, right? Like the whole idea. Right now we live in such a microwave world where I'm just going to say his name because we already said it. Like a Kendrick Lamar is trending, then everyone rushes to talk about Kendrick Lamar. They might not even have an actual opinion. They just rush to form one, and now they're forced to die on that hill.
Yeah.
And that's why we're not able to connect with artists like we used to.
Yes.
And these artists are dope and they're talented.
Oh, yeah.
But they rush to make this music that comes and goes because we don't know anything about you.
Mm-hmm.
With this show, what we're doing with it is we're having conversations like this where people can get invested in you.
That's
where they hear
dope.
your story and they can connect with you. And that's why we call it Nobody's Listening, because it feels like for a little bit on the come up, nobody is.
Oh.
But trust me, somebody is.
That's a bar.
It's not as crazy. It's not as crazy as like, you gotta work on yourself. You gotta live with yourself. That's crazy. That's crazy. I did like the Dr. Seuss version of that. That's crazy. Right there. Dude, I'm literally, after this interview, I gotta go over there like, I'm gonna use the restroom and just start fucking writing. Hey, so can you tell us when the album's coming out?
We don't have a release date for the album yet.
Coming soon.
It's coming soon. Working on the visual, setting up the visual for this track eventually. And we'll be dropping another single soon thereafter. We're almost done with the album. So, it's all a work in progress. It's one of those things. There's no right way to do this. There's no, independent artists. It's like, I know that there's like that whole, roll out and have everything stacked up and have everything. But it was like, I found myself in one of those stagnant places where I was like, I need to do something to kickstart my motivation.
Yeah.
Hit them with that single. And now I am forced to get out there and put in,
cool.
we all work differently, right?
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Jthurston. I'm assuming Apple Music, Spotify, is that where can they find you?
Everywhere. I'm on all platforms, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, plenty of visuals. The visual to this song eventually coming soon.
Let them know where to follow you, what your handle is, how to spell it.
So I'm on Instagram at King Season. That's KNGSZN. I'm on, not Twitter.
X.
At Thurston_Jarrett. Is there any other platform?
No. All music platforms has J Thurston. THURSTON,
and it's connected. There's no space in between there. So
the letter J in Thurston.
Yeah.
Sweet. Eventually out now. Nobody's Listening podcast. Album coming soon. And let's get into this live performance.
Remember, when you think nobody's listening, somebody is.